AI has connected us globally in ways that anyone born before the year 2000, like myself, couldn't even have imagined. Could you explain what you're referring to in your book when you talk about artificial intelligence? And how can something so revolutionary connecting need an anti-fascist resistance?
Okay, well, I'll start with the first one, but what do I mean by AI, which is a pretty big question because AI has a long history, pretty much since the Second World War.
Oh,
So
okay.
there's been lots of kinds of AI, and actually the kind that's really big now, which is sometimes called connectionist AI, it's the neural network stuff. And the first working neural network was built in about 1948. So this stuff's got a long history.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
indeed. Yeah, you would never guess, actually.
No.
But for most of that time, it didn't mean that. It meant much more what we might think of as AI, what I think most people would think of, especially from movies and so forth, which is something that actually thinks. A lot of the time, people building AI want to say, okay, how is it that people think? How does human intelligence operate? How can we embed that in some kind of computer or computational operation? And actually, the stuff that's happening right now is really taken over in the last decade. And it's the resurgence of that stuff from a long time ago, which doesn't try to imitate how people think. It tries to imitate how brains work. So that's hence the neural networks. And it was a kind of computing that was very hard to do for a long time because it needs a lot of computing power, a lot of tiny calculations over and over and over again to make it work. And these neural networks are very deeply connected. It's very, very demanding. And before it was useless, basically, because it just took weeks. It took weeks to train anything to do anything. And by the time you trained it, life had moved on. Yeah. So, but the connectivity you talked about, the internet, social media, all the stuff that, which you referred to pervades our everyday life. This, in a way, was part of the fuel for the AI we now have, which is really neural networks, is deep learning. This is the stuff of actual operating AI. That's partly been sort of fueled by just all the data. Because another thing you need of AI, you don't just need a lot of computing power for this kind of AI. You need really a ton of data. It's kind of it's an imitative process. It learns to imitate, and it does so quite slowly in a way, right? It just has to repeat, and to do that, it needs almost unimaginable amounts of data, which wasn't there before until along came the internet, and then along came social media, and lo and behold, everybody was generating loads of data,